Where in BC is everyone joining us from today? And I think I'm seeing maybe a couple new names, but in case not, if you're coming back, welcome as well. It's always great to see that you're returning for these practices. So here we really have a space where we can be a community. And for today, I can see Mark is joining us. So Mark is probably at the clinic. For those of you who perhaps have not met him, Dr. Mark Lawrence joining us to start us off from the pain clinic.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm good. You?
Yeah, doing really well.
Yeah, I'm just trying to sort out this bright light behind me. I had the same thing this morning with another Zoom meeting. It's like, oh my gosh, really?
You've got a glow behind you. That's great.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, great. I'm glowing in the dark. Okay.
How are things at the pain clinic
Good,
this morning?
Good. How about you?
Yeah, it's nice. I'm kind of looking at this picture here and thinking, wow, I think the flowers are almost past bloomed. We're moving
That's what
through.
I was thinking. Yeah, that's the isn't that Kelowna's national flower? Kelowna's like flower.
Yes.
I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Yeah, they got such a short period when they're around,
I know. So I appreciate them when they're out.
Absolutely. Well, welcome to everybody from the Bill Nellens Clinic for joining us this morning on today's journey in mindfulness and relaxation with Juliet. So welcome. I just thought I would just see if there's any burning questions that anybody has. But just to recap how important we believe these groups are for helping patients cope better, putting them in a better place in terms of managing their chronic pain, and the level of evidence that there is for mindfulness-based therapy. So
yeah, it's wonderful to have this opportunity to put into practice perhaps some of the knowledge that has been gained in the webinars or in the pain classes themselves. Yeah. Here we have an opportunity to experience it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Great. Well, it's always wonderful to have you start us off. Thank you, Mark.
Absolutely. I'm going to let you launch into the group and the class. Thanks, Juliet.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yep. Same to you.
All right. So for today, as we're in June and we've got this week and next week left of these experiential classes, and so I thought I'd put it out there for all of you today, and I wanted to ask if there's any requests, or if we're interested in some of the information that I have to touch on and then move into a practice, or if you'd like to experience a slightly longer practice today. I'm curious what we'd prefer. You're welcome to type in the chat, and in the chat you can choose to type to everyone, or you can also, there's a little drop down option and you can type just to me as well if you don't want anyone else to see. And so I'm curious to hear if we're wanting a longer practice, we want to dive right into mindfulness, or if you want some information before we do so. If you've attended classes before, I have a few slides up, but I wanted to see what was the flavor of the day today. All right, Chris is at Mission Creek. Oh, wonderful, outside and ready for a practice. Okay. I wonder if anyone else is open to that. I think we had some more people join in that if you're new here, if this is your first time, I'm always welcoming you to share a hello. Okay, a regular practice. You see, okay, practice. Okay. Okay, it sounds like we'll move right into it then. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. And let's see. Got that. I'm just getting myself sorted. Okay. So before we fully dive in, a couple pieces that I just really want to share for you is that my words are really here as an offering, as an optional guide. And at any point, if you'd like to turn your attention to outward or to something else, you are ultimately your best guide. So know that that's available to you. And sometimes when we practice mindfulness, it can be really helpful to do so when you're experiencing low to moderate, kind of medium levels of pain. If you're experiencing high levels of pain, sometimes having a distraction like turning your attention elsewhere can be really helpful. Looking at your other supports that you have in managing in that time. As when we practice mindfulness, a really common thing that arises is we turn our attention inward. We turn our attention to what is happening in the present moment. And sometimes what happens is thoughts and emotions start to rise up. We start to think a little bit. Sometimes it feels almost like your thoughts are a little bit louder. And that's actually absolutely normal and common. And so that's where I invite you. I just encourage you to when you notice the thoughts, when you notice an emotion, to observe it just like a cloud that might come by, recognize it, and then continue breathing and continue either following my voice or coming back into the room that you're in and bringing in a distraction. So that's where it might be nice to have a cup of tea or a glass of water. I have my hot cocoa here as a treat. So yeah. So for those that if you'd like, you might bring in a little bit of comfort before we fully dive in. So let's take a moment here to maybe look around your space. And as you do so, just see, would it feel best to clear any space, just to kind of really set this time aside just for you? What can you do to feel 1% more comfortable? Might that be clearing your space, or maybe you look at the room that you're in and maybe there's an adjustment that you can make to the temperature, whether it be a blanket or it be opening a window. See if there's any subtle adjustments that you can make here to allow yourself to really arrive. And when we can bring in some of that intentional comfort, it then allows us to feel a little bit, on some level, our nervous system feels a little bit safer. And at any point, if you notice that sensations or thoughts are just really uncomfortable and are really kind of getting louder, then I encourage you to try this practice out. And we can do this together to begin with as well before we dive in at the start. This is the visual orientation practice. So we can do this together now if you'd like. You can begin to use your eyes to scan around your environment. And as you do so, letting your eyes move inch by inch, just really gaining a sense of exactly where you are in space. You might look up at the ceiling or sky and just notice if there's a ceiling, how far are you away from the ceiling? And then similarly, if you're around any walls or if you're outside, if there's trees, just taking a look at your spatial orientation. So seeing What's the distance between you and the walls? And then as you do this, what's happening is we're receiving signals from our eyes, sending them up to the brain, saying that I can see that right now, I can see that I am safe. And that already starts to send a signal to your nervous system to bring in a little bit of that relaxation. And so that is welcome for you to do at any point of the practice. If you feel like you'd like a little bit of a break or a pause. And if you're ready to deepen into the mindfulness practice, I now invite you to perhaps find a reclined position, or maybe if being in a chair is more comfortable, allowing yourself to almost wiggle a little bit now. And just bringing in attention to your sit bones, and just almost, if you've ever seen some dogs do this, where right before they lay down, they almost kind of do a couple circles. They pat it down and really make sure their space is optimal. So I'll invite you to maybe make any subtle shifts here, just to kind of clear that space for you. Oh gosh, and let's not tell Mark that I've been talking to everyone as if we're animals, but on some level I'm speaking to our nervous system, and on some level our nervous system is responds that way. So I'm glad I got a laugh there, Dave. For those of you who may not have been to my classes, I try to weave in a little bit of humor here and there, as when we laugh, it is actually a really healthy antidote for pain management. So yeah, there we go. So here we are. Once you've maybe found your spot and it feels like it's okay for right now, I'll now invite you to see if maybe there's a pillow you'd like to place under the knees. Sometimes that offers a little bit more of low back support. Or perhaps finding a position on your side with the pillow between your knees. And wherever you are, just see, where might your limbs extend to? Does it feel best to have your arms kind of taking up some space, extending them out to the side? Or does it feel better to have your hands resting on your body somewhere and feeling the warmth from your palms that way? And once you've allowed your hands to land, maybe allowing your legs to outstretch a little bit, really taking up space today. And then it might feel nice to close your eyes or have a gentle gaze downwards. And then this allows us to turn our attention inward. And I'll now invite you to bring your attention to the subtle felt sense of your breath, just as it is right now. So without changing your breath, without, shifting anything, we're just simply becoming aware that you are breathing right now. And perhaps there might be thoughts and there might be sensations or discomfort that is present. And all of that, we're going to let it be as it is. And we're choosing to bring our attention to the breath right now. And as you feel this breath, maybe start to notice, where is the breath traveling through? Is it your mouth or your nose? And can you feel a subtle temperature difference between the inhale and the exhale? Or are they the same? You might notice that the breath in is slightly cooler than the breath flowing out. And as you feel this breath, just as it is, maybe bringing your attention to notice, where can you feel the breath flowing into the body? Perhaps you can notice the breath expanding into the lungs in the chest. You might even feel your chest lifting slightly, or you might not. And as we move into the rest of the practice today, at any point, if I offer a suggestion of noticing this or feeling that, you can choose to bring your attention wherever it feels right. And so if it doesn't feel right to bring your attention to any part of the body, you absolutely don't have to. It's all an invitation, all optional. And you can bring your attention back to the felt sense of this breath and this natural rhythm at any point. And if you'd like to, you might start to welcome this breath to soften a little bit. Lengthening the exhale, just allowing it to smoothly flow out. And then watching as the natural breath flows back in. Just like the tide and the water as it flows back out into the body of water and then gently flows up onto shore. Our breath similarly flows naturally and fluidly. And notice that when you slowly lengthen that exhale, breathing out, it creates space for the breath to flow in. And you might find yourself sipping in a little bit more air, deepening that breath, feeling all the oxygen flowing in. And then perhaps I'll invite you to get a little curious about the qualities of this breath. So as you observe this breath, can you also perhaps notice what's the speed of the breath? Does it feel like it is one steady speed with the inhale and exhale? Or is there a part of the breath, like the start or the end, that's a little bit faster? And now starting to notice, is the breath feeling smooth? Like, is it a steady, smooth breath? Or is it a little bit choppy or raggedy at certain parts? Just observing the different qualities of breath, knowing that there is no right way. If you are here breathing with us, you are doing it right. And next, I'll just invite you to now just start to imagine as you breathing in, maybe even imagining this breath rising up, just like a mist rises up, feeling and imagining this breath rising up to the top of your head. And then as you breathe out, imagine this air moving down the body, through the hands, the chest, the thighs, down through the feet. And breathing in, you can imagine the breath moving up through the body to the top of your head. And as you breathe out, it moves down through the body and out through the feet. And just staying with this visualization of breath rising up and breath moving down. And as you do so, we'll now gently start to bring our attention to a gentle body scan. And at any point, if it's difficult to visualize or feel an area, know that that is absolutely okay. Oftentimes when there is discomfort or a pain, that sensation becomes louder, and the more subtle sensations of our body might not be noticed. They might not be felt. And that's really normal. So as we start to move our attention to different parts of the body, what we're really doing here as well is starting to almost gain a map of the body. And in this map, it's called proprioceptive awareness, where we're exploring, feeling into the subtleties, or maybe even areas that we can't feel at all. And so let's begin by breathing in and feeling into the roof of the mouth. So maybe bringing all your attention now to the roof of your mouth. And then gently it starts to move into the tongue. This is a muscle that we use to talk and eat. And what might it be like to really relax the tongue in the mouth right now? Maybe softening it, letting it go. You might even feel your jaw starts to unhinge slightly. Relaxing the jaw and letting the tongue hang. You might even open the mouth slightly and soften your lips. And then gently bringing your attention now to the right eye and feeling the eye and the back of the eye socket. And just feeling your right eyelid become a little heavier, releasing the eye there. And then moving over to the left eye, feeling the left eye soften in its socket and get a little heavier eyelid. And feeling the space between your eyebrows now, and almost feeling like your eyebrows are almost melting away from one another slightly, just feeling a very subtle relaxation of the forehead. It might even feel nice, if you'd like to bring your hands up to the forehead and very lightly, gently moving above the eyebrows over to the temples in this very gentle self-care motion. This is also stimulating the vagus nerve, and which really amplifies, it stimulates the relaxation or the parasympathetic nervous system. And then gently relaxing the hands back down, maybe feeling the back of your head now and seeing if there's any support behind your head, or if you're sitting upright, just seeing what it might feel like to let your head become a little heavier. And here once more, you might even bring your hands up to your scalp if that feels okay for you, and just brushing through the scalp. So many nerve endings here. Might feel nice to just brush through the scalp a little bit, very gently. You might find that your hands travel to certain areas, maybe areas that feel a little bit of tension, and it might feel nice to gently massage that area. And then gently relax the hand back down. And then coming back to your breath and seeing, is your breath still flowing? Or does it feel okay to maybe soften and lengthen that exhale once more? And as you do so, now bringing the attention down into the throat and seeing if you can feel and sense your throat when you bring your attention there. And then gently, as we continue to travel through the body, you might notice that some areas have greater sensation than others. You might notice that certain areas elicit different thoughts or emotions, and this is really normal. Whatever you find as we map through the body, we'll just allow it. We're practicing observing, letting it be, and then continuing to travel through. So now I'll invite you to bring your attention to the right shoulder and almost scanning it from the inside out, and seeing what it's like to continue to breathe and feel your shoulder. And then gently, almost like there's a liquid pouring down the right shoulder, melting your attention down the arm, through that bone, into the elbow, and then down the arm into the wrist and into the thumb. Seeing if you can feel and sense your right thumb. And now pointer finger. Can you feel the tip of the pointer finger? Maybe even imagining or feeling the nail in the nail bed. And then the middle finger. Feeling and sensing the middle finger. Ring finger. And pinky finger. And now, what's it like to feel the whole hand, the whole right hand, feeling and sensing the right hand? Keeping that in your attention. And then bringing the attention now to the right hip. Feeling and sensing the whole right hip, this area. And you might feel this hip sitting on, or if you're reclined, you might feel kind of the back of it. Just noticing where is some of your body's weight or pressure in this right hip. And then gently guiding the attention down that leg into the right knee, feeling and sensing what is present, if you can feel sensations or the lack of sensations there. And then moving down, gliding that attention down the right foot into the pad of the right foot. And now bringing all your attention to the right big toe. And then second toe, third toe, fourth toe, and fifth toe. Now feeling the whole pad of the right foot. Sensing and feeling the pad of the right foot. And now extending your attention to envelop the whole right side of the body. So now, sensing and feeling the right side of your face, shoulder, arm and hand, right leg and foot. And if this is difficult to do, then know that that is completely normal. We're just trying to feel and sense the whole right side of the body. And if you can't feel and sense it, then that's the information that you receive. And that is just perfect. And then very gently releasing that attention and moving it up over to the left side and starting to feel the left collarbone and shoulder. Feeling and sensing the shoulder from the inside out. You might find that when you bring your attention to an area, you might notice if there's a subtle tension or holding, perhaps you might bring your attention there to melt it. So maybe letting that left shoulder melt slightly away from the ears, and then gently moving the attention down to the left elbow and left wrist. And now all your attention comes to the left thumb, feeling and sensing the left thumb. You might not feel anything. You might feel a subtle pulsing there. And then over to the first finger, second finger, feeling the tip of that middle finger and ring finger. Maybe imagining or sensing the nail in the nail bed, and then over to the pinky finger. And now feeling the whole left hand. Can you envelop your whole left hand with your attention? What does the left hand feel like as a whole right now? And can you soften your palm and soften your hand wherever it is, letting it really rest? And it's really normal when we start to bring in some relaxation for there to be parts that tighten up. So if the arm tightens in response, then that's okay. And we continue to come to the breath. Continue to just be present with the breath as it moves through. And now bringing your attention over to the left hip and just sensing it from the inside out. Might not sense anything, there might be sensation. And then gently starting to melt your attention down the leg and feeling into the left knee. Can you feel it from the inside out? And then down the shin and calf into the ankle. And then as you're breathing smoothly here, feeling into the big toe, the left big toe. And then the second toe, third toe, fourth toe, and fifth toe. Feeling and sensing the whole left foot now, the pad of the left foot, just as it is. And now your attention starts to envelop the whole left side. So feeling and sensing the whole left side, the left side of your face, your shoulder, your hand, the leg, the foot. Bringing attention to the left side of the body now. And then your attention starts to now envelop the whole body. What's it like to imagine and sense the whole body? Can you feel the body as a whole? Noticing your head, your back, your legs, feeling it all, whole body. You might even imagine like there's like an egg shape around you and just feeling that entire body. And then as you breathe here, breathing into the whole body. And then relaxing your tongue in your mouth, relaxing the jaw as you do so. And next, and starting to imagine as you breathe in, feeling into a subtle lightness or expansion. Starting to imagine, what does it feel like to imagine lightness? Being really light, almost like light like a feather or really buoyant. And then as you breathe out now, gently feeling that all that starting to come in and tighten in and starting to be more condensed and being dense and heavy. What's it like to imagine and feel heaviness, density? And then gently that sensation starts to expand out and starts to lighten, become larger, and start to feel into lightness and expansion again. And then letting that all go. Begin to now imagine yourself arriving at a place that just is really, really comforting. This might be a real place in life that you've been to before, or you might imagine. A space that you feel really comfortable and safe in. This might be at home, on your couch, or perhaps there's a spot in nature, maybe by a beach. Just see what bubbles up to you when you imagine feeling really comfortable and really, really safe. What place is that? Real or imagined? And then start to see yourself really arriving there. Are you reclined or are you seated? And maybe you look down at your feet and you see, are your feet barefoot in the earth, or are you wearing some comforting socks or clothes? And then what sounds are present here in this space? And perhaps you might imagine yourself looking around, and what objects and what colors do you see? If you're outdoors, do you notice any birds or the sun coming through? If you're inside, are there any objects? Hmm. If it's difficult to imagine, know that that's okay. There's no perfect way of doing this. Just staying with what is coming up. And then as you're in this really comfortable space, you start to really let yourself relax here as you recognize it's okay to really be here just as you are. And as you do so, you gently recognize that maybe you'd like to invite someone here with you, someone who's really caring, someone that you care about. It might be an animal, it might be a person that you know, or maybe it's somebody that you're familiar with but have not met. Who is here really caring for you? Real or imagined? Just starting to imagine them right beside you or maybe in front of you. And then looking them into the eyes. What do you see? Is there a message in their eyes? Might be of love or care. Just letting yourself look into their eyes and just receive that look. And then, if it feels okay to do so, you might now gently bring your attention to, as you're resting here, to a part of the body that might feel discomfort or pain. And maybe not going to the center of it, but just exploring the edges of it with your attention. Or you might even explore it from like a bird's eye view, looking down at it. Well, when you gently bring your attention there, might you also soften your breath? See if you get what it's like to keep your attention on this area while also softening your breath. And then as you do so, maybe softening your shoulders, and notice if there's any part of your body that's kind of bracing from this discomfort. It might be in the thighs or in the hands. And what might it be like to breathe in? And as you breathe in, it's almost like you're sending the oxygen to these areas that have been bracing. And just gently know that it's okay to brace. And it's also okay to soften. Be relaxing the tongue again in the mouth, releasing the jaw, noticing how your body responds when you bring your attention to this area. And as you do so, maybe getting curious about the qualities of this area of discomfort. Is there a temperature that you can identify here? Maybe when you bring your attention there, is there a color or like a shade? And does it feel like this discomfort is solid, or does it kind of move around? Is it fluid or kind of airy? What qualities might you bring in to describe this area? And then see if there's any emotions or thoughts that are stored here that start to bubble up to the surface when you bring your attention here. There might be all sorts of emotions or stories linked here. And you're the one that's breathing. without moving into those stories, just staying with your breath. You're the one that's observing, just like you might the weather patterns. You're the one that's observing these sensations. And as your attention's here, now gently starting to imagine your breath, almost like a river flowing. Your breath flows in and starts to surround this area of discomfort. There's some real gentle compassion that flows with the breath. Compassion for you for feeling this way. Compassion that you're also receiving from this loved one, this one that you care for. You can see and feel their gaze, and they're also sending so much care and compassion to you. It's almost like you're being supported and held by them. And just for a moment, being there, noticing, what does it feel like to allow myself to feel these emotions? There might be despair or frustration or sadness, curiosity, whatever arises. Know that you are being held here in this moment, and your breath is traveling through to support you just as you are. And then very gently starting to bring your attention back into the space that you're in. Maybe looking back into those eyes of that loved or caring one and just saying a thank you for their presence. And then gently bringing your attention back to your breath as it's flowing in your body here. And then seeing what it might be like to bring your attention now to a part of the body that feels neutral or maybe even good. That might be the sensation of the breath, might be the palms. And just deepening your breath now by a little bit, seeing what that feels like to have a little bit more oxygen flowing through. And maybe allowing the breath to extend out into the fingertips and toes, and maybe bringing in some subtle movement here. You might even allow this movement to extend into a stretch, stretching your body in whatever way feels okay for you right now. And then very gently, you might even start to blink the eyes and start to come back into this Zoom space or back into your room or the outdoors where you are. You might gently allow your eyes to look around your space and just see if you can shift your eyes inch by inch, reorienting to this room, to this space. And taking a moment to come back to center and take this time to acknowledge yourself for practicing mindfulness. And perhaps if anything arose for you, it might feel nice to either share or to write down. Sometimes people like to journal or write down their experiences, and in that way you can kind of then set it aside. And so as we start to conclude our practice, I just want to thank you for being present here today with me and with this community. It's really